I mean, who
especially
hasn't?
if you're, I mean, you've tried to kill Sylvester Stallone on screen on that unreleased film that we don't talk about.
Sure.
But no, Robert Webber as the gay best friend, I really loved, because again, the whole time, anytime he had one of his scenes, that Patton Oswalt, gay best friend popped into my head,
I'm sorry, finish. But I want to stay on Robert Webber when you're done.
Yeah, no, just real quick, on that, I thought it was very well written. I loved the fact that they didn't have this like weird attraction thing trying to be another subplot in there. It's just like, we're friends and I like dick and you like tits and pussy, bro. Kind of way.
Yeah.
But no, sorry, step onto Robert Webber while we're still there.
Well, I want to talk about the third scene where he's broken up with his pet boy. And the reason why he's broken up with the pet boy, and they had alluded to it in an earlier scene, is, and I want to preface this by saying that we here on the Rad Religion Broadcasting Network are accepting and understanding of all relationship dynamics. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to engage in them, but we're not going to say anyone is better or worse than the other. They exist in the world. They exist with people in them, and we do not want to shame people for participating in the relationship dynamic that works for them.
Mm-hmm.
With that out of the way.
All that being said, folks, if you didn't hear that long pregnant pause,
what he's talking about is an interesting dynamic between an elder man and a young man. And the young man, I made a joke, I was flipping about it, but I'm going to be a little less flip and kind of put on my serious personality. And he's kind of got a pet boy. And the pet boy, kind of like our boy in the first movie, Hard Bodies, is taking the opportunity to exist in this man's world as a pet, as, you will take care of me, and I will, it'll be transactional, and I will give you love and affection and attention in a way that you're not going to get from anyone else. And you will have the sort of veneer, the shiny coating of having the love and affection of a much younger person, and all of what that entails, because there is perceived value in it by others. Right. Oh, look at you. You scored a young babe. Babe could be man or woman in this case.
Yeah.
That has value in our culture, for better or for worse. And so there is that transactional relationship, but it comes with pitfalls. And that is, and it's funny because I actually had to deal with this with somebody in real life talking about this, where, it's a older man and a younger man in a relationship. And the frustration is that the younger man, while doesn't mind being a somewhat kept person, also is a young person and wants to go out and have fun and do shit. And that's what's happening in this movie. Is there's a bit where Robert Redford kind of says to him, he's like, I don't like those friends you hang out with. And the illusion is you're messing around. We don't know if their relationship is open. It's fucking 1979. It's, well, whether they are or they aren't, they're not saying it in the movie that's meant for mass appeal in the year of our Lord in America, 1979.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly the implication from Robert Webber is a bit of jealousy and a bit of, I give you a home, I give you love, I give you affection, I take care of you, and you should be loyal to me, and I should be number one to you, and I'm not feeling like I am. I feel like I don't know if he says this or he alludes to it, but he's like, I feel like you placate me just long enough so that you can run off and be with the people you really want to be with, but they're not going to take care of you like I am because they are not rich and I am.
Right.
And eventually that kind of runs its course and they break up. And Robert Webber says to Dudley Moore, I'm too stubborn to take him back. Kind of tacitly admitting that he felt used, but he misses being doted on by a young babe.
Right.
And he's in conflict and he doesn't know what to do with it. But because he is a man, and he is a man in 1979, above middle age, he's not going to sacrifice his principles and let his emotions rule his decision making. But his heart is breaking, and he's burdened by all of these conflicting emotions and whatnot. And it's not the focus of the movie, but it was a really powerful bit. And if you blink, you missed it.
Yeah. and I really enjoyed that part of the story. It saddens me, though, for the most part, that every time that they approach a story like this, and I know here's where we're going to start getting a little more serious. In the year of our Lord 2025, we must fear and be aware of older people, both male and female, who want a younger person because in their relationship as a toy or as a partner and stuff like that. For, as you pointed out, the status of it. Look at you scored the hot, young babe, you dirty old man or woman, you. However, there are people out there, and again, this is very specific to my own personal life. My own rape that happened was from a much older woman. Because again, that same idea. Hey, I'm with a hot, young, albeit underage guy or boy, but there are so many relationships where a age difference of over a decade still works. You see it in relationships all the time that they're not about grooming. It's simply because somebody has reached quote unquote middle age, but has not, their spirit and their energy does not match their peers. I've known several older people that, they're in their late 40s and they're, dating and or married to someone in their late 20s. Yeah. And the whole reason for that is it's like, I cannot, and this was the best, since this ties into this, I'm going to go very briefly into it without going into a diatribe or a tear, is I asked him about that once. I was like, people kind of give you crap for this. They really shouldn't. And that's why we don't talk to those friends anymore, but whatever. I was like, why, is it for the, hey, look at the trophy wife? He's like, oh God, no. He goes, if I wanted a trophy wife, I wouldn't be who I am. He goes, I cannot bear to be around people my own age for the very specific reasons they bore the shit out of me. They are literally staring at the end of the game instead of looking at the game now. And he's like,
cut in real quick. That's why it's in the movie, because it's one of the, when Dudley Moore is struggling with his own, with his own age, and he's sort of looking at the best friend, he was just like, you have what I want. That's sort of where he gets the idea from.
Yeah.
You have a young babe who makes you feel young again, like when the world was new. I want that. I'm going to pursue that. And then he sees Bo Derek.
Right. And I was actually in a roundabout way kind of getting to that. It saddens me that like every time, and I'm sure I've missed a movie where they made it work. Anytime we do the older and younger thing, because Dudley Moore in this is supposed to be 42. Bo Derek in real life, when she's doing this movie, is 23. So obviously there is a very large gap there. But the stories always seem to point at the bad direction of it. And I get it to a point, especially in this movie when it's like, it's not because he's in love with her or, he spent a lot of time with her and fallen in love. It's because he wants that gold ring or the brass ring, I guess, is the better term for it. So in this case, it's done well. It just, anytime they do it, it's like, oh, the old man has problems and needs to accept the fact that he's falling apart and dying and shut the fuck up. It's like, and then you look at all the people who wrote the movie and you're like, you hit on some 23-year-old girl at a bar. She told you to go fuck yourself. You went home with your little angry thorn fuck stick and wrote this movie out to take revenge.
They had to cross out the title that says Projection the Movie.
Right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, but there's something I wanted to tie this to.
No, I was just kind of going around the circle, just going back up. So yeah, go ahead.
I want to say this, and then we can move on to the bit with Bo Derek and Dudley Moore, because it is the heart of this picture, and something that when I heard, I was like, I kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, that right there, and I'm like shaking my girlfriend. I'm like, she said the thing. When I'm less concerned. I think it's great points that you're bringing up, and I don't say this to undercut what you're saying, but I think to me, the interesting dynamic is the concept of ownership in a relationship, belonging. I gave you a house and a lifestyle. I've given you everything. You owe me. And the guy's like, I don't know, you shit. Well, then I have no incentive to do this anymore. And then, and then fights with his own self about rekindling that relationship, because he kind of comes around to the fact that his motivation to provide a lifestyle for a younger person was to have that younger person in his life, and is just now willing to accept it on the younger person's terms and shift the power dynamic.
Absolutely.
And that's what leads to, and that's all interesting stuff to me.
Mhm.
Because I think the movie sort of does what a good movie does best, which is throws the idea out there and lets the audience figure out which way they lean on it. Because some people would say the power dynamic belongs with the person providing the lifestyle, not with the person taking advantage of the lifestyle. And other people would say you don't own a person. We got rid of that in the 1800s, fought a war over it and everything.
Right. You might have heard of it.
But some people, but then there's a third side to this, and that is, what if you choose ownership? There's certainly, especially in the BDSM kink community,
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
yeah, there's people who, I use the word pet out there. There's people who do choose that. They choose to be submissive. They choose to be slaves. Jesse and I made a huge thing about it when I made him take the BDSM test. But these are long story. But these are things and conversations that you have to have openly.
Mhm.
And when you're not having them, and you're just making assumptions, and you're setting, you have expectations, and then they're not being met. You have exactly what happens to John Weber in this movie. There's an expectation that you will be loyal, that you will show fidelity to me because I provided you a lifestyle that you would not otherwise have.
Mhm.
And then when he doesn't, he's depressed and he's anxious about it and he's frustrated and he lashes out in anger, and throws the guy out. We're told. This is
Right.
all his conversation in the movie. You don't actually see any of it. And I think that's just enough for the audience to kind of figure out where they land on the issue. And I think it's as relevant then in 1979 as it is today in the year of our Lord 2025. And I think it's like one of the more interesting things about this movie, but not nearly as interesting as what we're going to talk about next. But before I do, I wanted to get you to weigh in on that.
Yeah, no, and it's you nailed it right on the head. It is as relevant today as it was then.